All right. So we're a bit later again because we did the live stream today
Yeah.
with the NHL. I want to do gaming live streams on here, but I'd have to log out of my other account and log into this one. I may just start up a Twitch account for the other games. Just throw it on Twitch. Just why not?
Because that'd be a pain.
Although I played Need for Speed Rivals and it took me about 15 minutes to remember why I stopped playing Need for Speed Rivals. Because I would end up with cops chasing me, and I'm like, I don't want cops chasing me. I just want to drive, and then they'd bust me, which means you lose all of your points. So you build up all these points, and if you get busted by the cops, all your points disappear. And I was like, I gotta go build up points again. So I'd start building them up, and then sure enough, oh, crap, I got another cop behind me. Why is there a cop behind me again? Damn it. And then I get busted, and I would think, all right, so I've got a good hiding space.
Busted.
Yeah, meaning they crash my car, so I get arrested, or they sandwich me and I get busted. Whatever happens, and so it sucks. I even did this really cool jump. I did this really cool jump, and I did this cool jump, and then I pulled back, and I've seen it before where the cops just fly over the jump, and then they roll and they're destroyed. No, there were two of them at the foot of the jump. I'm like, seriously, there's two at the foot of the jump waiting for me. Like it's an action movie now. I don't have a chance. And I was driving a Lamborghini and I couldn't get away. So I learned why I don't play Need for Speed Rivals.
All right.
It makes
We're
me
both
angry.
wearing Vegas today.
Yeah, I knew you were still wearing that Vegas shirt, so I thought I would throw this one on. And of course, I'm going to do my treadmill
I
after.
like my
So,
Vegas hoodie.
all right. So, where were we? We were up to Mike dealing with the evil alien dudes,
Yeah.
and now we're back on Volteri's in the next scene. Dradgen hadn't fired a gun in a long time, so trying to wield a rocket launcher while standing in between trees in a dense forest presents quite the challenge. He knows this is the right thing to do at this moment, and when things have to change. The monster, the one made up of this planet's forces, had to be awakened, and the world had to be shaken to its core. It didn't surprise Dradgen that they initially met little resistance. This base hadn't been bombed since the civil wars this planet went through ages ago. It'd take a while for the forces they were attacking to get themselves composed and start fighting back in any meaningful or organized fashion. Dradgen even saw a few members of his forces entering the base itself. Dradgen steps forward and starts wondering if they might win this when a loud hum is heard and his heart skips a beat. The suns in the sky are bright today in a cloudless sky, but they are blotted out by a massive structure in the air. This isn't likely to be a scenario they'd envisioned for bringing out a new weapon, but this massive flying craft was taking its maiden voyage where its pilot was being told to fire on his own people. The Chapel 221F is a ship designed years ago by Cordell Laris, a man who designed many warships which Voltaires never bothered to build. This one was built simply because it was designed to scramble quickly and might be the first ship they had, which could create an energy field capable of creating a wormhole through which ships could travel. The Chapel 221F had advanced weapons which are accurate, deadly, and could be used to hit multiple targets with a single shot. Cordell Laris had been one of the few who foresaw a time when this world would need to go to war with a force stronger than their own. Dradgen finds himself saying a prayer to his gods for salvation as this massive ship looms over him, and he is applauding rightly on the inside for being so quickly to act. If only he were this quick to act against a real threat like Altel, this whole mess might not be necessary. Now it's a matter of surviving long enough that this battle has a purpose beyond being slaughtered. One of the other leaders on this assault rushes over to Dradgen. We have to take down the chapel before it kills us all. What do you know about it? The man asks. I don't know enough. Look, if we all get inside the base, it won't be able to shoot us without risking others inside who are not part of our mutiny, Dradgen says, and he motions to his other officers. They all move quickly and rush towards the base while the chapel can be heard powering up its weapons. We're not going to make it, the officer next to Dradgen says as they run faster than he thought he was capable of doing. We are going to make it, Dradgen yells as he gets within 50 feet of their goal. The chapel releases its stored energy and fires. A single laser emerges from the bottom of the ship and splits into six, traveling a few feet, which go towards predetermined targets. Of the six lasers, four hit their desired spots. Four mutineers die in an instant, and the crew of nearly 100 is being mowed down already. Dradgen's narrowly missed by a laser shot himself and manages to enter the building with the others close behind. The man who'd been beside him, convinced that they were not going to make it, was one of those taken down by the chapel's terrifying weapon system. Once they're inside, Dradgen leads his team down the main corridor, and they exchange fire with military men who are already showing signs of being better organized as they needed to be. This was something Dradgen just hated to do, but they had to do it for Mike. The system had to change. Any other means had been tried, but now they were at a point where they would have to make a move or risk never being able to do what's right for this world and other worlds beyond. There's only one place Dradgen's concerned with reaching. He ducks down as laser blasts barely miss his head. He reluctantly fires a rocket indoors, and it brings the ceiling down on one cluster of men who'd been waiting to ambush the invaders. Knowing he was killing good men made Dradgen sick to his stomach. Again, he had to remain focused on the goal here, and that would mean making tough decisions. They turn right, and Dradgen reloads with the last rocket he has. He really hopes he doesn't need to fire it. Behind him, he hears the tide turning as the chapel fires again. Firefights inside the building sound like they're already abating, so there's little chance this resistance force will manage an overthrow of the men in power. Dradgen finds the strength to kick a door down and finds a shocked General Cale Rightly holding an ancient handgun in his shaky hands. Clearly, he's not armed for a mutiny. Put the gun down, we need to talk. You bastards, Rightly exclaims. This is a planet of peace. You, Dradgen, do not understand that. Altair was enslaved, and I was told that your people were like this, that Altair occupied you before you had a chance to do the same to them. You apparently came from a world of oppression for freedom, and now you are attacking those who give you freedom. Gora was right. People like Mike Translate will provide me with freedom, General. Your constant need to appease Altair is destroying the human race and dooming my race to an eternity as slaves. It has to stop, and it has to stop right here and now. Mike must be brought home. He's made you believe all his lies. This action proves that the real danger is men like him and not anything beyond this world. Altel has nothing to do with what's happening on the arcologies. I've discussed this at length with Gora. We are very fortunate he hasn't accused this entire world of lying regarding his people via the media. The racism I see here is deplorable, unforgivable even. Rightly speaks with passion and a certainty which baffles everyone else listening to him. One of the men next to Dradgen steps forward and lowers his gun. General, my name is Jared Stern. I went to Altair with Mike on one supply mission to help the slaves there. I've seen what Gora and his people are capable of, what they've done under the command of Geyer for years prior to him taking over, and what they still do under the direction of your friend Gora. You are living in a dream world. These creatures will not stop. They will continue to conquer worlds and push their influence further and further at the expense of other worlds. Conley's a good example. Cale Rightly shakes his head. You're buying into propaganda. There was never proof that Altel had anything to do with the slaughter on Conley. Their people died years before we even got there. The only proof we have that they existed are their distress signals, which never named their attackers. Dradgen sighs. There's so much we can prove, but you have to be willing to see that proof and face facts before we're going to get anywhere here. You're killing all of the Earth if you let this continue. Resign now and hand leadership over to Mike Transler or you'll die in infamy. Rightly stands nose to nose with Dradgen, though he's intimidated by the confident blue-skinned alien. I will never name him the commander for my forces. Dradgen reaches into his pocket, pulls out a computer, presses a few buttons on it before he smiles at Rightly. I'm very glad that exchange hit the airwaves planet-wide. Now your people know who you are and what's going on here. Even better, Altel knows what's going on with us, which compromises Mike's position in the arcology since you've all ratted him out as being there, Rightly replies. Dradgen hasn't hit a man in years. He's a man of peace and not much of a fighter. He watches as his right hand strikes General Rightly and takes him down to the floor in a motion that seems to happen in slow motion, and he can't stop it. It comes from an anger that he represses since he doesn't see that'll do him any good. You coward, Dradgen exclaims, grabbing Rightly by the throat. You called Gora here and explicitly told him what Mike was doing. I have reports from my sources within the base about it. You were overheard promising to bring Mike home and kissing that salamander's backside. You sold him out, and you sold us out for your vision. Do not throw the blame back on us, or I'll use the final rocket here to turn you into confetti. He pauses and actually smirks. He looks at one of the soldiers to decide. My speech improves when I'm angry. You have the general by the throat, you know. Dradgen blinks and looks at Rightly. I guess I can thank you for making me angry enough to speak your language properly. The general tries to answer, but his air's being cut off in the choke. Cale had no idea just how strong Dradgen was until this horrible moment. Dradgen releases Rightly's throat and stands before him, dropping his rocket launcher as they no longer hear any fighting going on in the base behind him. I'm not you, Cale. I have a heart. One of Dradgen's officers then shows up at the broken office door. The base is ours, he says. It's what? Dradgen believes he's heard wrong. This was supposed to buy them time only. It wasn't an attack they believed had any chance of being successful. The end. That's the end of the book. That's it. Good night, everybody. Okay. So next scene, we're back on the arcology here. Sabal makes his way over to Carissa Dahl, still holding on to the personal device, which was Mike's, and is set to take the carrier to Mike's house. You're not a good person, Miss Dahl. See, Mike we need for our own reasons, and John's a genetic wonder. You're merely an earthling female. Your blonde hair, blue eyes, feminine wares mean nothing to my kind. Good, because your growth and your breath makes me ill, she says with a scowl. Sabal actually laughs, a noise which sounds like he's choking while trying to whistle. That's what Mike has always likened it to anyways. See, human ego always assumes that humanity is the height of evolution in terms of the ability to attract a mate. You get old, your body parts sag, you get wrinkles, your hair falls out or turns gray. You lose your hearing, vision, and your ability to produce offspring. You're flawed and ugly creatures. See, and you start out already looking like you're 500 years old, so you skip all that fun stuff, she replies. Ah, yes, sarcasm, the human answer when there is no superior response. It is a shame you and your species will be taken out of the universe and banished to the land of extinction. Carissa can only shake her head. She continues trying in vain to move other limbs, and she wants to spit on Sabal, but for some reason she's unable to do that either. Her muscles aren't even able to strain against imprisonment. Still, she stays defiant. Humans are stronger than you think. Sabal sighs. You bore me, Carissa. It's been fun, he says, and he raises a dagger aimed at her chest. No, John cries, and Sabal lowers the weapon before he walks over to John. Predictable on your part, Mr. Webster. You want the girl for yourself, do you? I don't want her to die. I'm tired of all this death, John says as he and Carissa exchange a look. Despite the fact he can't move, John feels deep down he can make himself move if he tries hard enough. So let's talk about why you're not human, Sabal says with a smile. I'm human, John says. He feels he's being lied to, but he isn't sure what he's being set up for. Your DNA came back different. When we tried giving you the mixture, your body full out rejected it. The moisture came through the same point in your neck where we injected. I've seen immunity. The big-chested loudmouth over there has an apparent immunity too. Shame considering her killing spree would have been amazing to watch. Mike over there's from Falteri's, and he knows certain things I need to find out, so he lives. I have no clue if he is possibly immune to our weapons. I need to know why you're different, John, Sabal says. He takes John's face in his hands and turns his head from side to side as if inspecting him. You look the same, smell the same, and act the same as these cavemen, but you're different. I'm human, John repeats, though his heart started to race. Something inside him is sensing this alien's right, but he doesn't know how that's possible. Sabal takes a step back from John and then addresses the other three captives. Now, I had planned to leave this little level 48 party unharmed tonight. I wanted to make people feel stupid for fearing what might happen tonight, but thanks to Mike here, I've sped things along a little. Party's going to be a slaughter, and I'll make certain of it by personally overseeing the mission. You three will be kept here under observation by 20 of my finest soldiers, as well as these two scientists who've been doing some fascinating work here. I'm so sorry for having to leave, but duty calls. If you leave now, you'd better say goodbye to your men. They're all about to die, John says without a hint of emotion. It's very James Bond there. Very James Bond kind of line. You're going to leave. You're all going to be dead. Sabal greets John's icy stare with one of his own. You have the ability to turn your emotions off. That's unique. Even less fear shown by you than Mike over there. I'm going to enjoy finding out what you are, because you're certainly not like the rest of these idiots. You might be special. Might hold the key to making Altelians the dominant species in this galaxy. We're going to get there anyways, but you might be able to speed it up a little faster. Take care of that special DNA of yours, John, he says and slaps John on the cheek before he finally turns and exits the makeshift base of operations. Time to escape, Mike says as he starts trying to fight his way free of the invisible bonds. He also gives John a glance. If Sabal's telling the truth, as Mike believes he is, this could be a tremendous turn of events indeed. Sabal was a fool to leave so soon. That's the end of that scene. All done?
No.
Are we all done?
No.
All right. Dradgen sits behind General Wrightley's desk and looks towards the military men at the door. I don't know what to do now, he says with a shrug. This was supposed to end with us being killed while buying Mike enough time to get the proof he needed to bring the truth to light. Look, we're not stupid, one officer says. Wrightley's been oblivious to what Altel's been doing for years. Mike's been vocal, but we all experienced it. We've all heard stories of what Altair had been going through, and we know this Earth thing has to be related to Altel in some manner. We suspected it, and then when Gora showed up, that clinched it. I wanted to shoot him in the face, one officer adds. Dradgen looks at each man who's staring back at him and sighs. Oh, okay, so Kale was going to send some of you guys into the arcology. You know what? That might be the best idea I've heard him ever have. In fact, I'll come along. Is that a good idea? You're clearly not human, one of the men who suited up to pass as an Earthling asks. This is precisely why I need to go, Dradgen explains. You see, the games, the backdoor dealings, the secrets, and the like are all over, and our commanding officer's in danger. We need to go and get him back. He needs all the help he can get right now. Shouldn't have surprised Dradgen that many of the men who were under attack refused to defend Kale rightly. His popularity was lower than ever, with the rumor mill being what it was. That gave Dradgen all the power now, and he had to use it properly. The future of two worlds was riding on the next movie made. And that's the end of that. Ta-da! That's it.
No, keep going.
It's the end of the book. Okay. I'm just reading ahead to see how long the next scene is. Sabel inches his way down to level 48. Traveling through the air vents like rats is just too much for him some days. He has to get back to his latticework creation and out of the confines of the tunnel so he can bask in his superiority to the humans. He has his men with him, and they're all anxious to wrap this up now that someone has figured out the plan before they were ready to make a reveal. Their discomfort inside the tunnels is not the same as humans feel, as their bones are more flexible and they can contort themselves in ways humans can't, which is another evolutionary advantage they have. There's a lot of noise coming from the party on level 48. Humans were nothing if not predictable. Sabal watches as two of his soldiers inch their way forwards. He normally would lead the men into battle, but something tells him to let them go first. Shots suddenly explode into the vent, and the two men are vaporized on the spot. Damn Translo, Sabal growls in the knowledge that the humans are armed with weapons that Earth does not normally possess. Mike has made these people ready for an attack, so he has to think quickly here. Sabal draws his weapon. One which until a moment ago he thought he would need to use. It's the kind of weapon which will kill instead of infect. Behind Sabal, other soldiers have already started to form a line, facing the side of the vent which runs along the top of the level itself. Sabal points his weapon towards the side of the vent and is glad for the adhesive properties of their hands. They can hang from any surface for hours thanks to that adhesive property itself, and in combination with their superior strength, that's a huge advantage that they have. That's not a well-known fact about Altillians. It's something they don't use unless they absolutely have to, and this is one of those times. He brought 30 soldiers with him, and 2 are already dead, so their advantage is almost gone, and they have no element of surprise now. The crowd screams as the Altillian lasers vaporize the side of the vent and exposes them to the room. Within a second of vaporizing the wall of the vent, they're all swinging out into the theme park while shots ring out from various spots below. 2 Altillians are vaporized as they cling to the side of the wall with their sticky hands, while Sabal starts firing at civilians below. Killing a few of them will create the necessary panic to overwhelm their enemies. As Sabal kills 4 targets, he knows they are beyond the point of turning back now. The cameras have caught them, and the jig is truly up. The media is going to be streaming this live to all of Earth, and then it will be sent to Falteres as well. Gora will kill him for sure if they don't at least exterminate this arcology. Sabel reaches the floor and looks up towards the rafters. He shoots at one of the Earthling officers who was actually shooting at one of his men. The police officer is vaporized. Matt, the young woman next to him, exclaims as she points her weapon towards Sabel. Sabel quickly grabs the civilian and puts her in harm's way while aiming at the woman on the rafters. He fires a shot that she ducks, and then she actually rolls to the ladder and quickly slides down towards the floor. He continues firing, but he can't get his timing right, and he's either above her or under her. He hears screams near the exits and sees three of his soldiers mowing down civilians as they stop anyone from leaving. He wants to see more of that, inspiring fear and panic in everyone. The young blonde woman is hiding behind a table, so Sabel vaporizes the table in one shot. She fired straight at him, but he turns and the civilian takes the shot instead. As he'd hoped, she looks horrified at having killed one of her own, and she drops her guard. He fires and misses because someone throws a steel plate of some sort into the way, and it gets vaporized instead. The blonde runs off in the confusion. Sabel turns and sees Ben Woods rushing at him. Ben's firing shots as he tries to be brave in the face of the worst odds, but his hand's shaky and the blasts hit the wall on either side of Sabel. Sabel fires, but Ben ducks before the shot can hit its mark, and the shot hits another officer instead. A young woman's vaporized. It's all happening so fast. This is not how this is supposed to go. They're the superior ones here. Ben takes another shot at Sabel, so the Altillian leader opts to turn and find a better position for himself. He keeps telling himself this is not a retreat, but a regrouping. He then signals to the rest of his soldiers and knows this just has to be held as is for a few minutes, and then the rest will arrive and kill everything in the room that's not Altilian. They can work on the camera footage and explain how it was doctored to the media. There is a way out of this. There has to be, or Goro will off him. Sabal finds a space behind the controls for the Ferris wheel, ironically the position Ben and his partner had been in not long ago. He then starts firing at any targets he can acquire, civilian or otherwise. He's really mad at being caught off guard. This wasn't supposed to go down this way. This is all wrong. Earthlings are poorly trained. They don't have the intelligence or foresight to create weapons that can harm an Altilian, much less pose a challenge to a major battle like this. It all makes him hate Mike even more if that's possible. He can't see how many have died now, but he knows he has the ability to off every last one of these human beings on his own if he had to. Mike just had to screw it up and give him weapons from their world, weapons not ever used against his people. At least he knew they were using weapons also unknown to Falteris, one that ate their armor for breakfast and showed their superior technology. This is their battle. This is his fight and he can't lose. Donna's heart's racing. Seeing Matt get vaporized has caused her to call out. If it had given her the taste of true fear and she was wishing she could be anywhere but here. She had also seen Nikki Randall perish needlessly. It was a horrible night. Worse than anything she could have imagined. This is all too much for her. These monsters killing good people in a wave of violence she could never have been prepared for. Just moments before the explosion of violence, she had witnessed people celebrating, and she had started hoping they would all be wrong. She had hoped the night would be a turning point and that maybe Mike and his crew would manage to win a battle on their own and prevent this kind of death from happening. Donna sees that the exit's blocked and people are getting mowed down. It's upsetting her, and her heart sinks as she watches three of their enemies circle Ben Woods. For a politician, he's making quite an accounting for himself here. He takes down two of the three. Before Ben takes a shot from the third, which vaporizes them. He doesn't even have time to cry out. It's also pointless to her. There isn't even any remains to bury, not even ashes to put in an urn. These people are just gone, and it hurts her inside. She knows she doesn't have time for mourning, so she takes a deep breath and starts firing at Altilians she can see from her spot. She's beneath a ladder to one of the perches overlooking the place. People running back and forth in a vain effort to escape. What she doesn't see is the Altilian to her left, and that's her fatal mistake. Kristen's cursing herself as she watches Donna perish. She needs to be more on the ball here. She starts by taking the Altilian who took Donna out. She then turns her ire toward the one who appears to be their leader. His ability to avoid death is impressive, and Kristen's cursing up a storm as she attempts to destroy him. It's what she needs if they are going to have any hope against this enemy, who has the numbers and the firepower to kill them all. Nathan Helm's trying to keep cool at Kristen's side. There is so much he's feeling right now, but he doesn't have time to let any of it sink in. He couldn't be angry. He couldn't be upset right now. He has to be cold and calculating. It's the only way he and anyone by his side would have a hope to survive. Nathan turns and squeezes off a few shots towards the Altilian soldiers that ran him, Kristen, and Catherine away from the door. Nathan manages to off the first one, thanks to them being distracted by the battle at hand. The other two turn and start firing towards Nathan and Kristen. They duck behind a steel support beam and hope this battle turns back into their favor at any point here. It's not looking good as they watch their people get mowed down. Where are Mike and the others? So, 3 characters, just like that. Gone. So, that's something that, you're reading science fiction very often. It's just, well, nobody actually dies. But in this, it was just sort of, okay. So they're all in an enclosed area. One thing that drives me nuts in science fiction is when nobody can hit their target, where it's just lasers flying back and forth. So when I got into a battle, I thought, okay, they're in close quarters and they're trained. So somebody's going to end up being mowed down here, and that's too bad. So with apologies to the people who just got mowed down. Oh, sorry, Ben. Sorry, Donna. And Nikki's character. They were all people I knew. So, that was a shame. All right. So there you go. Another part of the book is done. And the battle is really and truly joined. And we're not even up to the real meat and potatoes part of the battle yet. Which is where it turns kind of sort of global. Because, everything's blown up at this point. And can't put the genie back in the bottle. So, all right. There you go. From whoever, you're my wife, right? Right? Right, that's my wife. I just got to keep these things straight. In these really crazy times, who really is my wife? I mean, really, we just don't know what's true, what's right, what's wrong, what's up, what's down. We just don't know.
That's not.
I could have multiple wives. We just don't know.
Couldn't.
So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And yeah, we'll see if I end up starting up a Twitch thing so people can watch me get really frustrated playing other video games. Because, yeah.
Why would you start a Twitch?
Well, because I want to play other video games too, but I don't want to end up messing
But
up
if you
my
went to
YouTube
Twitch,
accounts.
you don't have a Twitch account, so then there wouldn't be the people to watch it.
Oh, people would sign up to watch that.
It wouldn't work like YouTube.
I could promote it.
I don't see how that would be beneficial.
I could
in
promote
any
it.
way.
I could promote it. I've seen people use both, so I could probably go over into Twitch. I just have to make sure I'm not showing a bunch of cleavage, or else you can get in trouble for showing cleavage. So I'm gonna make sure that
I'm pretty sure you
have
could
a
get a
top-
lot
pretty high
away.
neck.
You could wear those 70s shirts and you'd be just fine. It's
I-
just girl cleavage because boobs are evil.
They are. They really are. They really are.
Apparently.
They are. That's why they immediately mean an R rating for a movie now. I remember when that wasn't the case, but then we all realized those are bad. So,
Then yeah, boobs are evil. So
but mowing people down, that's okay. That's fine.
yeah, that's just part of life.
It's so weird. I just don't. Anyways, all right. That's a whole other thing for a whole other time. Thank you guys so much for watching. And hey, remember, be safe. Keep everybody at a distance that you need to. And
Distance.
Yeah.
Social distancing.
okay, all right, knock it off. All right. So while she's being a bad example, thank you guys so much for everything, and thanks for tuning in as always. I will talk to you guys again very soon.